Hello guys, today we're going to be learning about the least common multiple and the greatest common factor. Okay, first thing I want you to look at is some definitions that I want you to write. The first thing that I want you to write is what a multiple is. If you notice here, I have taken some text from your textbook, and it says that a multiple is a number that is the product of that number and any non-zero whole number. So this is exactly what I want you to write in your notebook. Please take note that the multiple is the product of that number and any non-zero whole number. That's exactly what I want you to write in your notebook. Okay? The second thing I want to talk about is what the least common multiple. So the second word we're going to enter is least common multiple. The least common multiple is the least multiple that is common to all of the numbers. So let's go ahead and talk about what does that mean. Okay, let's say for example that I have the numbers 18 and the number 10. Okay, to say the least common multiple, we're trying to find what two numbers, 18 and 10, would have in common. So for example, what I want to do is think of what numbers I can multiply 18 by and what numbers I can multiply 10 by that will get me to the same number. Okay, to do that, I'm actually going to do something called prime factorization. I'm going to think about the multiples of 18. Okay, multiples of 18 are 9 and 2. And multiples of 9 are 3 and 3. Now I'm going to break down the 10 as well. The multiples of 10 are 5 and 2. And that's it. I can't go any further. To find the least common multiple, what we are going to do is we're going to write all of these down. So we're going to go ahead and write all of these. And we're going to put one on top of each other, the ones that are the same. So let's say that I'm going to go ahead and write these first. So I'm going to write 3 times 3 times 2. Now I'm going to be writing these. But if you notice, guys, we already have this 2 here. So I'm going to write it underneath this 2 to let myself know that I've already used a 2 before. And then I'm going to put times 5, where your least common multiple is going to be 3 times 3 times, and since this one has been used twice, I'm only going to use it once, I'm going to say 2 times 5. That is going to be your least common multiple. And so in this case, 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18, and then 18 times 5. So let's do 18 times 5 to see what that multiple would be. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 4 is 9. So the least common multiple of 18 and 10 is 90. Please make sure that you're writing all of these down. This would be example 1 in your notebook. Okay, let's continue to look at what else your textbook tells us. Okay, they tell us that they give us an example. They say a fish sandwich is on a school's lunch menu for every 6 school days. Spaghetti with meat sauce is on the menu every 9 school days. If both items are on the menu today, when will both be served again? They're actually asking you here to find the least common multiple. Okay, so we need to find the multiple of 6 and 9. So this is going to be example 2 in your notebook. Please label it example 2. We want to find the least common multiple of 6 and 9. So we're going to do the same steps again. We're going to do prime factorization. The factors of 6 are 3 and 2. The factors of 9 are 3 and 3. Again, we're going to just look at these and rewrite them. If they are twice, we will write them on top of each other. So here you go. First one would be 3 times 2. Now once I start on these, I realize that I've already used the 3 before, so I'm going to write it down here. And then the other 3 I'm going to write over here. Okay, so I know that I'm only going to use this 3 once. Then it would be times 2 times 3. Let's figure out what that would be. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And we have just found the least common multiple. Here's some other vocabulary I want you to go ahead and write. So underneath example 1 and 2, please copy these vocabulary down. We have a factor. Okay, you've been hearing me use that word. What is a factor? A factor is a whole number that divides another whole number. Okay, so basically a number that is divisible, that divides into that number. Okay, so a number that divides another whole number. So for example, a factor of 10 is 5 and 2, because 10 is divisible by 5 and it is also divisible by 2. Okay, here's some other vocabulary words we need to know. A composite number. A composite number is a whole number that has more than 2 factors. Okay, please write down this example. An example of a composite number is 2, 4, 6, 10, 12. All of those have more than one factor. 2 is divisible by 2, 4 is divisible by 2 and 2, 6 is divisible by 3 and 2, 6 and 1, 10 is divisible by 2 and 5, and 1 and 10, 12 is divisible by 6 and 2, and 1 and 12. And actually, I think 2 is not considered a composite because 2 is only 1 and 2. So sorry, I got that wrong. It should be 2 is not considered. So go ahead and scratch that off, guys. All of these other ones are considered a composite number. Now let's talk about prime number. Prime number is a whole number with exactly 2 factors. Okay, so an example of a prime number, so please write that down. An example of a prime number would be 5, 7, okay, 13. None of those have any more numbers that can be divided other than 1 and itself. Okay, so you need to be able to identify those. That's why when we were doing getting the factors, I told you to get prime factorization. What that meant is that we are writing the product using prime factors. Okay, so please write that vocabulary word, the product using only prime factors. Last thing we need to cover, guys, is greatest common factor. If you want to look at this third example, guys, it's on prime factorization. If you feel that you need more practice, feel free to try it. Okay, example 3, we have a 60 and they're breaking it down into prime factors, 2 and 30. Then the 30 is broken down into 2 and 15. Then the 15 is broken down into 3 and 5. So the prime factorization, when we write it out, would look like this. Or if you notice, you can use exponents and it would look like this. So instead of writing 2 times 2, they wrote 2 squared. Everything else is written the same way. Now let's talk about let's talk about greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is the greatest number that is the factor of all the numbers. We're going to use prime factorization for that too. Let's say that I have 20 and 16. I'm going to use prime factorization to find the biggest number that 20 and 16 are divisible by. So 20 is divisible by 10 and 2. The 10 I can continue to divide and make it 5 and 2. 16 is divisible by 4 and 4, and each of these is 2 and 2. So when you're trying to find what number, what's the biggest, so I'm looking for the biggest number to divide by. That's what we're trying to find. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to do the same thing that we were talking about. I have 5. I have 5 times 2 times 2 for 20. And I'm going to write this underneath. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now, where they repeat, that's what I'm looking for. The repeat are the ones that I'm going to use to find the biggest number I can divide by. Now, it's done twice, so this only counts as 1, 2. This only counts as another 2. So the biggest number that 20 and 16 is divisible by is 4. To finish off your notes, guys, I want you to try on your own number 8. I want you to find the least common multiple of number 8. I know I've given it to you, but I want you to show prime factorization. I want you to try number 17, find the factors. And then the last thing, I want you to try number 33, find the greatest common factor of those. We will talk about them in class.